Good evening, everyone. Glad to have you all here on a wonderful Monday for episode number 11 of the Monday edition of Onward to Victory. Our final show of the year. My name is Jordan Talley, and today I'm joined by
Ella Wolter-Sánchez
and Noah Reed.
So, I've been gone I've had a brief hiatus. It's good to be back. Christmas break is right around the corner. What are you guys looking forward to doing when you get back home? And what's a Christmas staple for you and your families?
You want to start us off?
I'm definitely just looking forward to being in my own bed and being around my pets again. I always feel so bad being there for such a short amount of time. I mean, I was out of break for Thanksgiving, so I was only really home for probably 24 hours in total the night there, and then just coming back from the airport and coming back to my dorm. So I always feel so bad leaving my animals, and I am definitely excited to spend some quality time with them and some quality time with my family. And a Christmas staple for my family is we make these cookies called Cookies While You Sleep, and they're called that because while you preheat the oven while you're making them, and then you turn the oven off when you put them in, and then they bake all night in the oven that's like warmed up from the preheating. So we always make those every Christmas, and so that they're ready in the morning for Christmas morning, and you can't touch them all night. It's a whole big thing. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Never heard of that one before.
I don't think I'd survive that challenge. I think I'd be carried by my nose, while there's there's no mouses scurrying, or I guess mice. I'd be sleepwalking towards the oven.
I've caught my uncle with a few trays on the couch some years.
But you honestly touched on I feel like an underrated point with seeing your pets. I miss my dog so much, and I love my little brother to death, but he doesn't do him justice on walks. He'll take him out for 15 minutes and give him kind of these just lame walks. But I love, and I especially when it's winter and the sunsets where I live are so pretty. I'll just walk him for an hour, just put on some headphones, listen to some music. I love Christmas music.
Yes.
I don't listen to Christmas music till after Thanksgiving. I know we touched on that last show. But Christmas staple, the Saturday after I get back, which will be next Tuesday, we get to my grandma Sherry's house and we spend the whole day baking. So we're going to do baklava, we're going to do fudge, we're going to do pie, cookies. So a lot of the stuff that we'll eat some of the stuff there right away, but a lot of it will be saved for our Christmas Eve party. But yeah.
I'm just going to be happy to be back home. Like you said, pets. We just got a new dog.
Aww.
I had to leave before I came back here, so I'm very excited to spend some time with her. And just like Christmas staples, I love Christmas music. Unlike Noah, I listen to Christmas music immediately when it turns November 1st. So Christmas music, movies, I decorate our house, my grandma's house. I do a lot of the decorating. I love decorating. And I bank with my aunt. I'm getting probably a little bit too old for it now, but I really don't care. But yeah. So as the end of the year comes to a wrap, a lot in store for Sun Devil Athletics, and the ASU volleyball team is just on a nonstop heater.
Oh, yeah. They wrapped up and put a bow on the regular season last weekend. They went undefeated at home, splitting 13 wins across Desert Financial Arena and Mullet. They'd already clinched the Big 12 title by virtue of Kansas's loss to Wednesday before the game on Friday afternoon. It was the first time that ASU has actually won a conference title for volleyball. And here are just some of the standouts from that game. Leading ASU in kills was senior outside hitter Jelly Sear with 11, hitting .455. This was her 21st match with double-digit kills, and she neared a double-double with 9 digs and 2 aces. However, one senior that to me and the crowd was absolutely loving her here in Tempe, or I guess not here in Tempe, there in Tempe, was grad student Roberta Abello. She played as starter for the first time this season after not being on the starter list in 2024. Put up 7 kills and 1 block, and for senior night, they let her start for the first time, and the crowd was loving it. Every time she got a kill, everyone would get up to their feet, and that was pretty darn cool. And so obviously leading it, some more news broke yesterday that hosting the NCAA tournament for the first time since 1995. It's weird. We've had 2 historic 1995 stats. this year with BYU football and Sun Devil volleyball. They're going to be in the 64-team bracket for the second year in a row. They're the number 3 seed, set to host the first 2 rounds, December 6th and 7th in DFA. They're currently tracking to have their best statistical season in program history. All they need to do is get 3 more wins to tie the 1982 team that went on to play in the NCAA regionals. Guys, I just want to get your thoughts on Sun Devil volleyball as they get ready for the postseason.
I definitely feel like it's, as much as there's a lot of attention on it, I feel like there's not enough. And the fact that they're in the NCAA championships and they're the number 3 seed, I feel like there's not that much attention around it. And I mean, I'm guilty of this as well. I went to a volleyball game for the first time and I knew nothing about the whole Monster Block song. I was shocked about this whole, I mean, I definitely feel like the fans that go there and the culture that is in the volleyball stadium is very strong and is very united around ASU volleyball, but I definitely feel like there needs to be more attention, and especially I feel like it's probably getting pushed under the rug even more with football. But it's great to have 2 teams that are doing so well, but when you do have 2 teams doing so well and one of those is football, I feel like the other one does kind of get pushed under the rug a little bit. But it has been nice to follow them all year and just watch them consistently and constantly go higher and higher, and it's been so cool to see them break all these things and start all these new, I mean, last time we talked about a player being drafted in the professional volleyball, and it's just really cool to see all these new avenues that they're going down, and hopefully a great weekend for Sun Devil volleyball at DFA.
For sure. I mean, 100%, like you said, I feel like ASU volleyball is such an underappreciated sport here on campus just because there are so many sports that are now actually doing so well this year, especially when it comes to, you have football and volleyball going on at the same time. Obviously, football has the bigger audience. More people's going to talk about football. More people's going to be there at football, know more about football. So it's awesome to see, especially in the first year in the Big 12, that we have a conference winner of a team, and they're just I mean, I've been excited about them since the first game I went to in like September, which was even a month or 2 into their season, and I see so much for this. I see a very, very bright future for this team, even if that ends this season or they go on a deep, deep playoff run. I just think that this team and coaching has everything they need to build a championship contending team.
Yeah, head coach J.J. Van Niel had a lot of great things to say, celebrated, obviously, winning the Big 12, celebrated the seniors, and it was pretty emotional being there in person. I know that you mentioned, with football, a lot of eyes go to the football team, but I actually want to shout out the football team for the listeners. They actually showed up. Every single one of the football players showed up, took an entire chunk out of Mullet Arena. But the thing that blew me away the most was when they left, that entire section covered by, 150, 200 football players, staff, etc., all filled up with fans. It was a Thanksgiving weekend. People were out for the holidays, but they still showed up and supported one of ASU's top teams. And that was just something really cool to see.
I also definitely think that a lot of people thought that with the conference switch, it wasn't going to be the most fun. I mean, I know especially for football, a lot of people were concerned the Pac-12 versus the Big 12 and how that was going to match up. But I definitely feel like, obviously, ASU has been very successful in our first season in this new conference. And I definitely feel like it'll be interesting to see Sun Devil volleyball next year. Hopefully NCAA championships go well, but I definitely feel like a lot of their talent is in their senior class. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that the younger classes aren't talented, but I definitely feel like most of their power is in that senior class. So it'll definitely be interesting to see if there's a shift in how the team is next year.
For sure. All right. Next up, we have our ASU Athlete of the Week. Stepping into wrestling this week, who do we got?
Yeah, we got Jesse Vasquez, and since, getting here to Arizona State University back in 2020, the Corona, California native Jesse Vasquez has faced a lot of obstacles that have challenged both his body and mind, and this one is relatable as a athlete. When you sustain multiple injuries throughout your career, especially at the collegiate level, he had a torn hamstring, broken finger, broken elbow, that's a lot, especially for, any athlete to navigate. But he really fought through it valiantly and returned stronger than ever before. And this is what he had to say to some of the media. I had to spend a lot of time with myself, watching my teammates compete where I want to compete, where I know I should be. I understand what's going on now and what I'm meant to be, and I refuse to give up. I'm more dedicated and committed to doing this than ever before. And so just to see an athlete who is beaten down time and time again, but it didn't stop him because he claimed his first and last Pac-12 championship last year, beating Cleveland, Belton of Oregon, and Stanford's Jason Miranda. So just really quickly, before we really dive into Jesse Vasquez, I know that you guys have seen a lot of sports and seeing athletes fight through injuries and just looking at like the mindset from what we know right now, like what are your thoughts?
I mean, I definitely, especially at, like you said, the collegiate level, and you're trying to prove something for yourself, trying to pursue a sport further in the future, injuries are so tough, and you have to have this mindset of like, not, you can have your feelings about it, but it's okay. Like you have to be, like he said, you're seeing your teammates compete, that where you want to be out there with your teammates, you want to be competing, and you can't. I think that's one of the biggest things that an athlete can go through is being injured and having to sit it out. So, I mean, he's understanding that, he's dedicated. He's not going to let the injury stop him. He's dedicated to being better. He's dedicated to continue fighting and pushing through his instances with injury. It's just a great mindset to be in to be a winner.
Yeah, I definitely think going off of that, or just adding on to that, it's definitely a taxing thing when you're faced with that. And it's not only obviously the physical challenges, but the mental. You see so many people come back physically, but then they never really come back mentally. So to be able to do that and in both facets successfully is really interesting. And I definitely think that our wrestling team, I know that we had, I completely forgot his name, but he came on the field during the football game, the BYU football game, and it's very interesting. I don't really pay attention much to wrestling yet, but I feel like there's definitely a lot of, it seems that Sun Devil wrestling has been quite successful in the past years, and they've had, not successful as in like trophies and all that, but they've had a lot of great stories come out of the organization because it is a smaller organization. They are closer, tight-knit, and it does seem like stories like Jesse's and such like that, those more organic and raw stories come out of the wrestling program, and it's really cool to see.
Man, you talked about the stories of that athlete. That's actually, his name is Anthony Robles.
Yes.
And he's going to be in a new movie featuring his life. It's going to be put out by Amazon Studios. And just a little bit of background. He was born with one leg, but he became a collegiate champion wrestler. And the movie will be coming out starring Don Cheadle, which is a very high caliber actor for those of you who don't know. So that'll be really interesting. It'll be coming out I think pretty soon. I'm not positive. That or it came out rather recently. But just again, seeing the stories is one of my favorite things, especially here at ASU. And there's so many. I mean, he's one of the most decorated high school wrestlers in history of California, coming from my state, which I know a lot about wrestling because we had two what I thought were really good wrestlers. Incorrect, because this guy won 4 straight CIF state titles, and according to WrestleStat right now in the college ranking, he's 12th in the nation for his weight class at 149 pounds. He's got 7 wins, 2 losses, and there's just, this is so early in the season that I think we touched on wrestling. They don't end their season until, March in Philadelphia, so they've got a long road ahead.
Yeah, for sure. All right, up next we have our ASU game moving towards basketball with another team that is doing pretty well.
Yes, ASU men's basketball solidified a win in the Acrisure, I'm not sure how to say that, Classic Championship with their win over St. Mary's, 68-64. to secure the 4th non-conference tournament title under Bobby Hurley. They beat New Mexico in the first game and then St. Mary's in the second to win the championship. And those other non-conference tournament titles under Bobby Hurley were in 2022, 2018, and 2017. And so basically, both nights of games were very close, and the Sun Devils were trailing in both games, but were able to come back, and that was kind of the highlight of these games. In one of them, they were even trailing by 9 points in the first half, and they were still able to come back and solidify a win. And St. Mary's before this was previously undefeated, and keeping that, defending that was the key. Arizona State limited St. Mary's to 39.5% from inside the arc. And St. Mary's not only was previously undefeated, but they've been historically good, winning 26 or more games in 3 straight seasons. And the MVP of the Classic was 6'5" freshman Josen Sanin, and he led all scorers with 19 points, making 8 out of 16 shots. His season average is 16.6 points per game, 1 assist, and 4.4 rebounds. And then freshman Jaden Quaintonance was also a star of this tournament with 10 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. And he is a monster blocker of men's basketball. In this season, he's recorded 28 blocks, already passing ASU Pac-12 block leader Jordan Baczynski, I believe, and he has 2 or more blocks in every single game with 4+ block performances. So this Bobby Hurley era has just been all around great because we see another non-conference tournament title, but it's also showcasing this championship altogether, but especially this St. Mary's game kind of just showcased the freshman talent that men's basketball has. And so, yeah, what did you guys think about that?
Well, for me, the big standout is that I think a lot of people got really nervous after that Duke game. And then a lot of people were kind of really unsure what to think about the ASU basketball program. They're 7-1 right now. They're currently in the overall standings in the Big 12. They're ranked 3rd. We're ahead of teams like Arizona, who preseason were ranked much higher than us. And we're receiving votes for the AP Top 25 poll. We actually received 5 votes this week. And we have a tough schedule up ahead with San Diego, with number 13 ranked Florida. So the month of December will be still pretty busy for ASU basketball. And I'm very curious to see how things shake out. But I think they have the pieces. I think that was one thing we touched on a couple weeks ago is they have the pieces. The only thing that scares me about a team like ASU is if you look at the scores, I believe 4 of their last 5 games have come down to 4-point games. So just the fact that they've been able to come out on top is good. This is a good thing, but you want to start seeing more dominant performances. And the only loss I want to mention was to Gonzaga, a perennial contender in the men's Final Four every year.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of the ASU basketball losses have been by a very, very, very small point margin, and that is a little bit concerning. Like you said, when it comes to just being as a team as a whole, yes, they're getting the job done. Yes, they're coming out with these wins, but I feel like they need to get more comfortable and more settled to a point where they can not call it so close. And like how you said, they were trailing at half for some of these games, and by 9 points is quite a bit. So I think it's just figuring out what the quote-unquote issue is and solving it. So you don't have those close call hair pullers of a game, especially going on.
Yes, 100%. And Arizona State, as you mentioned, is going to face San Diego, and it's their final non-conference home game and only home game at Desert Financial this month, and that takes place tomorrow at 7 p.m.
All right, next up we have our Arizona High School prospect for this week. And today it's a little bit different. We usually go for offensive players here, but we have a cornerback a senior out of Desert Edge High School, Jamar Beal Goyne.
Yes. So Jamar Bilgoin is a senior out of Desert Edge High School who is already committed to Texas A&M and received offers from Arizona, Arizona State, Boston College, California Berkeley, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, Oregon, San Diego State, UCLA, UNLV, USC, Utah, and Washington.
Did I miss anything?
So quite the stacked. I feel like I couldn't leave out. I mean, that's quite the stacked offer list. I mean, those are not some random colleges on that list.
No.
And he is ranked 184th nationally, and for his position ranked 22nd regionally, and first in the state of Arizona, above a prospect we've previously talked about, Cooper Perry. And preseason, Max Preps ranked him as the number 1 player in Arizona, and his school, Desert Edge, is set to face off in the 5A state finals versus Cactus this Friday at ASU's very own Mountain America Stadium. And yes, and out of his season, he holds 16 solo tackles with 8 assists, 1 interception with 60 yards, and averages almost 2 solo tackles per game at 1.8. So quite the stacked resume for this senior, and quite the interest in him already as he heads into his college career. And sounds like it'll be a fun state finals this Friday. I thought it was cool that it was here at ASU.
Yeah. I mean, Noah wrote a note here. It's half the old Pac-12 pretty much. Yeah, I mean, just like, I feel like a lot of attention in at least high school football goes to offensive players. We don't see a bunch of defensive linemen, linebackers, safeties, corners, whatever. So for a cornerback to be number 1 in the whole state of Arizona,
I don't think we talked about a cornerback.
I don't think we've talked about a defensive player. Period.
No. Yeah.
So we talk a lot about wide receivers. We've done a few of those, but I mean, I feel like in football, the corner specifically is such an underappreciated position. I think it's the hardest position on the field of football. So to be that high up in a ranking as a defensive cornerback, I think that's awesome. So, yeah, crazy.
Speaking of high, the 40.2 vertical has me like floored. That is an impressive vertical. So, I mean, we've touched on this time and time again, the amount of quality athletes, especially from the football scene, coming in and out of Arizona is just remarkable. And it's something that I think a lot of colleges, as proof of having over half the old Pac-12 giving offers, but seeing now Big 12 conferences really putting their eye on Arizona and try to swipe up these prospects, because there was a stat floating around during the ASU broadcast against Arizona that they put over, I want to say it was over 36 at least athletes, 36 or 37 athletes on scholarship, with over 40, 46 more joining the team. Like, having that big of a pool of athletes for one program is starting to become more and more commonplace. And so just to be able to see people like Jamar get recognized is really, really cool. And, excited to see how the state championships shake out.
All right, the thing that we have all been waiting for, our ASU sports topic of group choice, football. Down go the U of A Wildcats. ASU took home the Territorial Cup in Tucson in a thrilling, or not so thrilling, depending on your perspective, 49-7 victory, almost identically replicating the score to the ASU's first game against Wyoming. The Sun Devils were just completely dominant in this matchup, leaving U of A scoreless in the first half, forcing the Wildcats to go into the locker room sitting on a score of 35-0. ASU had 5 different Sun Devils see the back of the end zone, being the talents of Cam Scadaboo, Jordan Tyson, Chamon Mateer, Xavier Guillory, and for his first touchdown of his career at ASU, Derek Eusebio. ASU had a total of 643 offensive yards to University of Arizona's 210. I mean, the stats just speak for themselves there. Once again, like I have said every single time we've talked about ASU football, you cannot talk without Cam and Cam and Sam. Cam Scadaboo on 21 rushing attempts gained 177 yards along with 3 rushing touchdowns, one of them being in the opening drive of the game. Cam Scadaboo was also named this week's Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Going on to Sam Levitt, on 22 attempts, he completed 17 of his passes with a season-high completion percentage of 77.3% with 3 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Just some little tidbits about Sam Levitt here. With players with at least 400 recorded snaps, Sam Levitt is the nation's highest graded freshman on either side of the football, being offense and defense, with a grade of 88.7. His 88.7 grade is good enough to rank him in the 13th among all FBS quarterbacks. Insane, coming from a redshirted freshman that got like a handful of snaps last season at Michigan State. Yeah, and then Jordan Tyson led the Sun Devils on the receiving end of the ball with 143 yards on just 8 receptions with 1 receiving touchdown. Unfortunately, this was big news out of this game. Jordan Tyson did sustain a postseason ending injury after making a catch in the 3rd quarter. The number 4 ranked receiver of the nation will be out for the rest of the season as the Sun Devils prepare for a deep playoff run with a suspected broken collarbone.
I mean, there's so much to say, but I mean, we only have a few minutes left, but I think it's definitely you got all the best points there, and I just took a few notes. I mean, it's amazing to see not only, again, Cam Scadaboo named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week for the 5th time. I mean, where's the Heisman talks?
That's what I'm saying.
And honestly, I know I was a little worried going into the half, just knowing how our BYU game went, but it was great to see us be dominant in both halves. I know we've had a lot of games where the second half has kind of been a little lackluster, but Arizona State was nothing but dominant in both halves, and it was great to see going into postseason.
2 things. I think what you said right there about going into the half, that was my biggest concern with ASU football was we need to control the second half of a football game. You cannot have any program, whether it be college, high school, NFL level, where you play really well in the first half and then you just don't play well in the second half. And so to see that they've clearly made some changes, obviously, I think that they would have liked to obviously have held them scoreless. But the fact that they held it just to 1 touchdown, and I really liked the 4th quarter. The 4th quarter of football was really strong. And I did just want to say one last thing on Jordan Tyson, and he shared this on Instagram. As heartbroken as I want to be, I know that God's got me. He's mistakeless. I'll never question his plan. And just gutted, absolutely gutted for Jordan Tyson, because this is something that he's worked so hard for. But I know that with the eyes on the football program at ASU, he'll be back and he'll be ready to rock.
For sure. Well, that about wraps up our jam-packed episode this week. Thank you for listening to the final Monday edition of Onward to Victory in 2024. My name is Jordan Talley, alongside
Ella Wolter-Sánchez
And Noah Reed.
Thank you for listening here on Blaze Radio Online. See you next time.
And have a Merry Christmas, you guys.